Williams here. It's another in the series of our Thursday night improvement tips. I want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you so very much for tuning into the webinar tonight. It's the 19th of November. So if you're watching this recording, thank you so very much for coming. I hope that these 6 tips that I'm about to share with you tonight will be life-changing, not just for you, in fact, but also for everyone that you come in contact with. So I just want to make sure everything is right. So I'm just checking that everything is perfect. So please, if you're there, check your sound. Let me know if your sound is okay. I'm just making sure I check the sound on this computer to make sure everything is going correctly. So the sound is up. Excellent. Everything seems perfect from my point of view. So thank you very much for tuning into the broadcast tonight. And let me just make sure that the sound is okay. Excellent. So welcome everyone. Tonight is another in the series of our 6 life-changing improvement tips. Last week we had 6 tips, and if you want to know what those tips are, then you may have to watch the recording or contact me and I will send it to you. It was really powerful last week. So in the next 60 seconds we will get going. So so get your pen and your paper or whatever it is that you do to record, but you may not have to actually do that because we will send you the recording 2 hours after this webinar is finished. So we are going to get tucked in the next 60 seconds. So if you have any questions for me, please type them in the chat room. Okay, type them in the chat room, and we'd love to know who you are, where you're from, and we'd love to just have a chat with you as we go forward. So thank you for coming. Appreciate you being here, and we're going to get started straight away. Let's get started. Why wait? You're here, aren't you? So let's not keep you waiting, and others will come and join us. I want to just start really by introducing myself to you, so at least you know who I am. And I like to introduce myself in 3 ways, really. Past, present, and future. My past is really a troubled one, and really what I'm here to do really tonight is to share with you the tips that help me along the way to become the person that I am becoming. So I want to share those tips with you. Very troubled past, from the age, very young age, in fact, to around the age of 24. So that was a troubled period for me. I couldn't read and write, actually, up until the age of 24. Could not read and write. But today, I'm a senior pastor, regional overseer. I'm the management trainer, speaker with around 30 years experience. I've been to lots of top companies and share these tips with them, the tips that have helped me to get to where I am, and so on. So I want to share it with you. I'm the author of 4 books. I often say the 4 best books in Britain, but every author says that about himself. I'm also an internet expert. So if you need any internet information, then you can always come to me and I could share with you whatever I know. My future, basically, I see myself as a life improvement coach, looking to not just improve my life, but improve the lives of others. Okay, and that's really enough about me for right now. This is one of the books I've written. This is the 4th one I've written. I have a 5th one, which will be released sometimes next year after the new year. It's called Building a Dream. But this one is the last one I've written. Tips for handling difficult conversations. Very powerful book. One I use in companies. The information is really, some of the information, in fact, is what I'm sharing. The information is really powerful. So I am delighted to share those with you. So that's enough about me. I just wanted to just let you know who I am, and so you can just get a feel for who I am, and you probably really know who I am already. So again, welcome to all of you. If you have any questions, please, you don't have to wait until the end. Just dive in and ask your question, and I'll be more than happy to address any points that you may have. I have a wonderful gift for you, should I say, at the end of this broadcast, or an offer that you may want to consider or share with your friends. So I'll do that right at the end. Okay, let's get going then with tip number one. Okay, tip number one that I'd like to share with you tonight is this one: mastering your anger. Wow, I think this is such an interesting thing, because many people would like to know, in fact, how can I master my anger? How can I be on top of my anger? How can I control my feelings, in other words? And many people will tell you that it can't be done, but maybe it can. I just want to share with you a 3-step process that I have used over the last 30 years, which I found to be phenomenal. Now you will find this particular 3 points in the book of James, in fact. And first of all, it says, and you got to understand, first of all, it's a process. Okay, first of all, you got to be quick to listen or quick to hear. This is an amazing tip. Many of us, we are not quick to listen. We are almost quick to want to speak. You and me, we want to quick to want to dive in when people are talking to us. And oftentimes our anger boils up based upon how we're actually dealing with or treating the situation. So I want to share with you these 3-step process for mastering your anger. And I have found this to be so powerful. What I tend to do is this: I first of all decide, you know what, I'm going to listen to what the other person have to say. Because oftentimes when we get angry, isn't it with other people or situations or circumstances? But generally speaking, it's generally going to be that we get angry with someone, maybe because of something they've done or something they've said or didn't do, in other words. So my first step here is be a good listener. Now, I want to ask you this question. Have you ever been in a listening skills course? I mean, have you ever really done listening? I want to say this to you. We hear with our ears, but we listen with our mind. Now, that's a totally different concept altogether. Let me say this again. We hear with our ears, but we listen with our mind. Many of us, in fact, have never, ever been trained how to listen actively. And I would strongly recommend, if you get time, if you get a chance, you know, as you surf the internet, just type in active listening and see what it comes up with. And I probably may share some thoughts on that next week. But one thing I want to say is study the ability to listen. You know, recently I put a particular description on the Facebook, and the description was: great listeners, great leaders are those who listen. They're going to be able to listen to the other people. Yeah, you with me? So you have to learn the ability to listen. You got to say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to hear the other person out. And in actual fact, some of the other tips that I have selected tonight fall perfectly in line, in fact, with this particular mastering your anger. So even though I have some other information, I want to just share these with you. And then as we go along, you'll get some other additional information that will complement mastering your anger. So what I've discovered with my spouse, with my children, with my friends and others is, you know, that helps me and calms me down is to listen to them. Because oftentimes, a lot of times when we become angry, it's sometimes due to, misunderstanding. I did not spend enough time listening to the other person until I understand. Normally what we're trying to do, and I'll discuss that a little bit later, is that we're trying to get people to understand us. But maybe, you know what, I'm going to seek first to see to it that I understand you. So many years ago, I studied listening skills. As a matter of fact, I teach listening skills. And it's in my last book, you know, Tips for Handling Difficult Conversation. You need to get a copy of that book. Now, inside of that, I teach 6 things about listening skills that will improve your ability to listen to other people so that you don't misunderstand them, so that you don't become angry. So tip number 1 in mastering your anger is to be a good listener, active listener. Listen actively. And so you may have to pick up some more tips as to how you go about doing that. Second thing is, it says quick listen, but slow to speak. Isn't this a powerful point? Because oftentimes I've heard it said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Therefore, we should listen twice as much as we speak. Oftentimes, during a conversation that causes us to become angry, it could be that we're speaking too much and we are not listening enough. So I want to share this with you. There is another particular point made by one of our apostles where it says, study to be quiet. Oh, wise people, listen to this carefully, wise people speak less. Wise people speak less. Their words are few, but those few words are far more powerful than a person who speaks 1,000 words who's not so wise. So I want to say to you, be quick to listen. In other words, you must be quick to listen when someone is speaking to you, or when there's a situation that's very heated or it's getting out of control. Be quick to listen. Not quick to speak, but quick to listen, and then slow to speak. Close your mouth. Unless you were asking a question, or you may, you were paraphrasing a point that the person have said. Are you with me? But oftentimes what tends to happen is that we are so fired up to speak. We are so fired up not to listen that we become more and more heated. We become more and more angry. So I want to suggest my 3 steps to becoming slow to anger. Is number 1, be a master listener. Now, if you don't know how to listen effectively and actively, I would strongly recommend, as I've said before, to actually study this particular area. Now, if you're a person that's quick to speak, then you're going to have to learn, how do I slow down? How do I close my mouth? And you will see something a little bit later as I talk about it. As I said, there's a lot more information coming on the other 5 points, which will link with this particular point. So that would help. And then the 3rd point said, be slow to anger. And what happens is I found over the years, as I listen to people and close my mouth, I find my anger level goes down. And the more I talk, the quicker I talk, and the less I listen to people, I find that I misunderstand them. I find that I'm not getting my point across clearly. I find that the other person ain't really listening to me as effectively as they could. And I find that I'm becoming more angry. So as soon as I learned this secret of listening skills, and then closing my mouth and not speaking too much, especially when you really feel like you got to say something, no, don't have to. Just stay, wait a while. And oftentimes, my uncle once said to me, you must think twice before you speak. And I think that's a powerful point. So tip number 1 in terms of mastering your anger is, number 1, be quick to listen. Number 2, be slow to speak. And number 3, be slow to anger. And I found I have been able, over the last 10-15 years, been able to live a life of less anger. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. I kid you not. It's very, I can't remember the last time I've been really angry. I mean, so angry that I could be out of control. I can't remember. Just based upon these 3 points. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much. Quite a few people online. Don't forget the chat room is open, and you can ask me any question that you wish. I don't think anyone has even said hello to me as yet. Do say hello to me. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and really be so glad to hear from you. So let me just, so I'll be glad to hear from you. I think, and welcome to everyone. Actually, I just realized I have a button here that can tell me who's online. So I want to say welcome to all of you, Dave and Jackie and Clinton and Winston. Hey, how you doing? Winston and Marcia and Bally. Yes, welcome to all of you. And to all those who are watching this recording later, appreciate you guys being here. Okay, let me move on to tip number 2. And this is my favorite. Well, this one is my favorite, but the one I'm about to share is my favorite. Every one of them is my favorite. You will always hear me say, this is my favorite. So let me share with you my next favorite. This is my favorite. And it's Habits of Champions. Now, I kid you not, this is so powerful. Now, you may have heard of a guy called Stephen Covey. He wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or 7 Habits of Champions. But the book is called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the points has really gone around the world and back. And I think it's such a powerful point. The amazing thing about this particular point, in fact, is that Stephen Covey, though he has put his name to it as the person who wrote it, really the first person to speak of this point was a guy by the name of King Solomon. And I want to share with you what he says. But Stephen Covey, and again, this is linked to managing your anger. And it says, seek first to understand others before you try to get them to understand you. Oh, that is such a powerful tip. I mean, think of it for a moment. You're in a relationship, not just with a spouse, but could be your daughter, your son, your children, could be friends. And oftentimes when we get involved in conversation, we want to let the other person listen to us. We want the other person to really keep quiet and hear what we're saying, isn't it? But this tip is saying, no, you turn that around and you put yourself second and you put the other person first. And you say, you know what? I'm going to put you first. I'm going to try my best to understand what you're saying. And when I am clear, when I am fully clear that I've got all the information necessary, that I fully understand, then will I share my points so that you can understand. And what I've discovered is this, is that when I do that, when it's my turn to speak to the people, they listen. Why? Because I gave them respect. Remember this, make a note of this. The highest form of respect that you can give to another person is to listen to them. I've got to repeat that. It's so powerful. The highest form of respect that you can show to another person is to listen to them. You see, when you don't listen to other people, it's a sign of not respecting them. Does that make sense? Could you imagine if you were sitting in the presence of, say, Queen Elizabeth, or let's say President Obama, or our Prime Minister? The chances are you might just listen in the way I'm talking. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what Solomon said. Solomon puts it this way. He said, he that answers a question before he hears it or understands it is foolishness and shame. In other words, if I'm speaking to you and halfway through me speaking to you, you interrupted me and then begin to tell me what I was saying and concluded my point and then give me the answer, what Solomon is saying is really, you are a fool. And it's shame on you. Folly and shame. How is it that you're able to answer the question before it was asked? I mean, many people do that. You know, it's amazing. Sometimes we interrupt another person from speaking, and sometimes we do get it right. That is true. We do get it right sometimes, but sometimes we get it wrong. And I think it's only respectful that I allow you to finish. And I understand you. Now that I've understood you, now let me share with you what I think. Does that make sense? Seek first to understand others before you try to get them to understand you. King Solomon says, and he says it beautifully, he that answereth the question or a matter before they hear it or understand it is a fool, and shame on them. As a matter of fact, you can see now how this could link with the first point of mastering your anger, because there is going to be less misunderstanding. Why? Because I've listened to you. I understood you. As a matter of fact, active listening says, I have proven to you that I have understood you. And that is really a powerful point. I hope that you're enjoying these points, and that was my point number 2. And when I'm going to say it was my favorite point. Now, I'm about to share with you point number 3. And you got to understand, point number 3 is my favorite point. Now, this point here, as I say, link with the first, mastering your anger, is so powerful. Again, this is a biblical statement, which I think is so powerful. As a matter of fact, I have searched far and wide to find a better statement concerning the point I'm about to share with you. And the truth of the matter is I could not find a better statement anywhere that I've searched. I've searched the internet, I've searched books, tapes, videos, been on training courses, etc., etc. I've been involved with questioning some of the most powerful people in the UK, and still no one can do a better statement than the one that I've got here. And it says, death, as he said, the tongue has the power of life and death. Again, this is from the wise man Solomon. You know, I want to say this to you. I have not found any wisdom. And again, I've not been alive very long. I'm only 50. I think I'm 56. The other day I thought I was 53. Can you believe that? I've only been alive 56 years. It's a very short time. And so I haven't been everywhere and searched all the planet, but I've been around and seen a few things. But this statement is so true. Your very tongue carries with it the power of death and life. Your tongue. So when you speak, you're either speaking death words or life-giving words, either to yourself or to others. Just like you could destroy a person's character or their personality or whatever with your tongue, so can you destroy your own character. If I start saying things like, I'm no good, I'm stupid, I'll never make it, I'll never achieve, I'll never be able to get married, I'm too bad lucky. What am I saying? I'm actually destroying myself. I'm speaking death words. As a matter of fact, I don't even need an enemy, do I? I don't need anybody else to curse me or to put me down. I'm doing a good job. Are you with me? So the point here is quite simply this, is that be careful of what's coming out of your tongue. Your tongue. Because it carries with it death. Let me give you a classic example of something. Many years ago, I was at a particular company that I was working at, and someone was speaking to me, and I was saying to them, we're talking about sales and selling. And I said to the person, I hate selling. I hate selling. And the person says to me, if you hate selling, you will always work for somebody who loves selling. I thought, wow, what a powerful thought. If I hate selling, I will end up working for somebody who loves selling. So I said to the person, what do I do from here on in? He says, just change what you say. From today, he said, repeat these words. He said, I love selling and I'm the best. And I thought, what a crazy idea. I love selling and I'm the best. You see, my tongue was confessing, my ears was hearing, and my mind was believing. You see, you got to understand the process in that work. So I walked around throughout and I kept on saying, I love selling and I'm the best. I love selling and I'm the best. And what I began to realize as the years roll on was that I was getting better at selling, and I was finding out that I love selling far more than I used to. And I thought to myself, wow, isn't that fantastic? Let me try something else. And I started saying things like, I love leadership and I'm the best. I love training and I'm the best. You see where I'm going? Now, I didn't let people hear me say these things. I just said these things to myself. It's called self-affirmation. Let me explain to you, and scientists have discovered this and have shared it with us. Your mind does not know the difference between reality and fiction. So what you say to your mind accepts and believes that's what you're saying. So when you say, I'm no good, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, your mind receives that, believes it, and give it back to you. So you start behaving in that pattern. It's a scientific fact. As a matter of fact, it's also a theological fact as well. Well, this is the point. Death and life is in the tongue. And I want you to notice, even if you can't speak, it still applies to the person who's dumb. Why do I say that? Because the only difference between words and thoughts is sound. Let me say this again. The only difference between words spoken and thoughts in the mind is sound. They're both equal. So if you think to yourself you're no good, you don't have to say it. Just think it. You are also assassinating and destroying who you are. Now, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are a royal priesthood. You are a peculiar person. Wow, come on. You got to think like one, talk like one, act like one, because that's who you are. So if you go around assassinating and destroying yourself, then you don't need an enemy. Now, I made this point last week. If you're in the presence of people who are putting you down, who are telling you you can't do it, you'll never be able to achieve, I certainly recommend, if possible, that you avoid those people. That was one of the tips I shared last week. Avoid people, circumstances, or situations that does not benefit you, that does not sow into your life. But if someone's going to come on you and speak all these things and all these negative things, negative, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't achieve it, you can't ever reach that goal. You know, you tell people your goal and they say, ah. You see the point? Be careful the company that you keep. Death and life is in your mouth, is in your mind. You can build yourself up by what you say. Now, one of the tips I would share with you, and this idea what I did over the years was I made sure that I have this phone here. This is my mobile phone, you can see here. And I made sure when I purchased this that it had maximum amount of space to put all my videos on. So I would just go inside here and I would just go and find one of my videos inside here that I put on. I'm just going to choose anyone for a moment, anyone. And even when I was on the plane, as an example, it's not playing this particular one. Even when I was on the plane, this is what I had. I didn't have to if I didn't want to. But they're not playing. Maybe I haven't got it linked properly to my system here. But if that didn't work, I just go into YouTube and I just pick something and I just play and listen. So I've created my own environment. So all those negative things that I had let into my mind, they couldn't come out. I couldn't get rid of them. They were there. So what I had to do was I had to stop the negative from coming in and began to put in some positive stuff in to eventually override all the foolishness that was in my head. Notice, if you've got foolishness stored up in your mind for the last 20 years, you can't just get in there and do a hard drive refresh, reclean, format your mind. That's our mind don't work that way. Okay, you can't format it like that. So what I had to do was stop those foolishness, turn off certain TV programs, radio programs, get rid of certain friends out of my head, and so on and so forth, and then begin to give myself the likes of Dr. Miles Monroe and Anthony Robbins and Brian Tracy and T.D. Jakes and K.C. Price. Are you with me? And so all that now, and eventually over a period of time, it suppressed all that negativity, and then the positive now sits on top of the negative and crushes it. Oh, I tell you, it's one of the sweetest, beautifulest feeling when you stop all the negative things coming in and put the positive, life-giving words. Be careful who you listen to, what you listen to. As a matter of fact, be careful of your own self, because you might be, listen to this carefully, you might be your worst enemy. Let me say this again. You might be your worst enemy. That's why I love to surround myself with people who say to me, Errol, you can do it. You can do it. Go for it, son. You can do it. Even when I'm saying, I can't do it, I want them to remind me, Errol, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Go for it, son. Go for it. Go for it. I'm with you. I'm with you. Come on, come on, come on. Push, push, push. That's why it's good to have a team around you. I spoke about this last week. It's good to have people who are working with you to push you to where you ought to be. Okay, if you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the chat box. Yes, great. Hello, Winston. Thank you very much. Marcia. Does Marcia, the question that you've asked me here, let me just I just want to understand it a little bit better. You said, does this principle work when the other person who is angry? Which one of the principles are you talking? Are you talking the first, the second, or the third one? Okay, the first, the second, or the third one. And I'm not so sure I understand the question properly. Does this principle work when the other person is angry? I need to understand it more. I'm not sure I understand it perfectly. Winston says, I like this point. I have a 20-second rule to change this conversation or exit. In fact, Winston, that's very, very powerful. Solomon said it, in fact. You know, he says, go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of understanding. And so you're absolutely right. That's a very good 20-second rule, and I love that tip. You know, go away. You know, just get away. You know, do it respectfully. Obviously, do it respectfully and discreetly, so at least you're not offending anybody. But it does say go from the presence. So, for example, I may turn the TV on, I may turn the television on, and discover that what's on this television is utter foolishness. Now, I have the remote control. And not only do I have the remote control, I have a mind that's very sensitive to all that foolishness. And all of that thing is going in my mind. Then I begin to meditate upon it, and then it becomes focused and etched on my heart. And notice what this statement said. Jesus himself said it. He said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. So when the mouth speak is what's in the heart. Garbage in, garbage out. Excellence in, excellence out. So that's the way that works. So thank you for that powerful point, Winston. Totally agree with you on that. You know, get away if it doesn't work. Sometimes some people would say it's hard to get away from some people because they might be your boss, or they might be, you know, your spouse or your children. But, you know, you may have to make some decision as to how you deal with that. But that's a good point. Powerful point. Okay. Marcia, don't forget to come back to me on the point you just made. Okay, let me move on to point number 4. My favorite point, by the way. Oh, you're going to love this. And I think this is what I call the change curve. The change curve. And life is about change. There's constant changes going on. Constant changes going on in our lives. Death, marriages, are you with me? Birthdays, Christmas, accidents, out of employment, in employment, the weather, you name it. It's constant. And normally when there is a major change in our lives, we go through stages, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. You will see stage 3 can become the most frustrating and the most difficult one. But normally the first thing is that there is shock. The person goes through shock, unbelief. Okay, there's the kind of a numbness or a denial. And I went through that, in fact, when Lady Diana died. I remember the Sunday when I received a phone call that woke me out of bed. And the person told me, have you seen the news? Lady Diana has died. I turned the TV on, watched the news, and then after I'd finished listening for a while, I turned it off, sat on my bed, and I went through stage 1. I was absolutely shocked. I was numb. Now, you know what's amazing about this? I've never met Lady Diana. I never ever knew that her death would have had such an impact on me. I have no reason, I have no idea why. you know, her death had such an impact on me. Never met her. She's never met me. I've only seen her on TV. You know, I knew she was going through, you know, a rough time. But for some reason, unbeknown to me, I became so attached to her that when she died, I was actually in denial. The other person that I was in denial over that died was Bruce Lee. I don't know if any of you here know Bruce Lee. He was the kung fu, you know, fighter, Fist of Fury and Enter the Dragon and all those films that I watched of him. And I was in shock. There was a numbness that I went through. I went through stage 2. But I'm glad to say I didn't go through stage 2. I went through stage 1, but didn't go through stage 2. And this is what happens to many people is that they go through stage 2, and this is the worst stage to be in the change cycle, is a situation of fear, anger, and depression. Fear, anger, and depression. And people become fearful because change can bring about a sense of fearfulness and uncertainty and could lead people into depression, a state of depression, where they become acutely stressed or chronic stress. And that's one of the reasons why we have to once understand this. We can see that other people may go through this change curve differently, and if we understand this, we can therefore then appreciate where people are at and know how we may be able to help them. So a person in stage 1 who is in shock and numbness and denial is therefore different to a person who's now in fear and anger and depression, and therefore may need counseling, may need some more support than the person who's in stage 3 or moved on from stage 2 to stage 3, where they now get to the stage where they're now understanding and accepting what has happened, and they can therefore then move on with their lives. Okay, so I think this is a very, very important point for us to understand in terms of what we go through, and even as it links as well with mastering our anger, is that we can realize that people, as they go through changes, major changes in their lives, they may go from stage 1 here, however, to stage 3, or someone may not even go through stage 1 and 2. They may just jump to stage 3, or a person, as they go in, may jump from stage 1 to stage 2 and become stressed. And some people may go through this at different pace. That's why we have to try our best to be patient with people and try our best to cooperate and help people who are going through this. So death can really bring about this major change in terms of loss of a job, becoming redundant can cause this. Lots of other things can cause this, you know, spouse going through divorce, many different things that can cause people to go into depression, shock, denial, numbness, all those kind of things. Some people may never get out of the depressive state. They may actually die in that state and never get to a point of acceptance and being able to move on with their life. And the time period could be any length of time. It could be a month, it could be a year, it could be more or less. So I think what's important for me in this is for us to understand this, and to understand that people go through things differently. People go through things differently, and it's easy for us to ourselves to have gone through it. Okay, so we have moved on, but somebody is still at stage 1 or stage 2, and then we try to help them by telling them, why don't you move on with your life? Well, it's not so easy for them to move on. They may have to go through, you know, counseling or help or assistance from friends and family. So we need to understand and appreciate that people go through things differently. I hope that is clear. Okay, Master, you made mention with reference to the first point, first in reverse. Okay, let me see. Does this principle work when the other person who is angry? the point I'm making, Master, if I understand you correctly, and then you please come back to me if I'm not explaining what I think I understand, is that you have no control over the other person's anger. You have no control whatsoever. You can try to influence that person, but you have no control. So the mastering your anger is really just based about you mastering you. Solomon, and a lot of Solomon's thoughts are coming through to me tonight, says, he that has no rule over himself is like a city that's broken down and without walls. Let me say it again. He that has no control over him or herself is compared to a city that's broken down and has no walls. I want you to think of the city of London for a moment, and I want you to imagine that it's broken down, meaning it has no security, no defense. The walls are down. There's no cameras, there's no army, no police force, no navy, nothing. What do you think would happen to the city of London by tomorrow if all of us were told tonight on the news that there are no cameras working, there is no police in the city of London, there's no army, nothing there? By tomorrow morning, almost every shop would be broken into, and there would just be an outrage. That's exactly how a person's life is if they have no control over themselves. If they don't know how to control their thoughts, what they say, their emotions or their feelings. Are you with me? So the tips I'm sharing work for anyone who wants to gain a control over themselves, but never over the other person. You can share the points with another person, but it is still their responsibility to take action for themselves. So no one can control another person under no circumstances whatsoever. The only person you have control over is you. I will talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but I hope, okay. Excellent, Master, appreciate that. Thanks very much. Okay, now, let me just say on the change curve, this is point number 4, we got 2 more to go. This is such an important point because we live in a changing world. Our lives are always changing. Everything around us is changing. And you never know where the next major change is coming from or when it's coming. But when it does come, for example, this morning I was told of the death of someone. Now, in that family, some may be at stage 1 and others may be at stage 2, yet still some are at stage 3. And what we got to try and do, in my view, is to help everybody at whatever stage they're in to get the help that they definitely deserve and need. Okay, so as I said before, I've been at stage 1. I have been at stage 2 at a particular point in my life. I was around 16 years of age. I'll never forget. Never forget. It just engraved in my heart and mind what happened to me. And I went straight down into depression. It was the worst period of my entire life. And I decided I'm not going there again. It's not nice. Now, somebody may say to me, but can you really stop yourself from going there? I think you can. I really do believe you can. But I went there when I was around 16 years of age, and I was there for at least a year. Terrible feeling, terrible agony. And I vowed I'm never going back there. You know, it's a terrible place to be. And that's why there's a saying that says, they that feels it knows it. Okay. And I went through fear, anger, and depression. It was terrible. And these tips that I'm sharing with you are the tips that help me never to go back to that particular position. And so I was so glad when these tips helped me to understand, to accept, and to move on. Okay, and I'll come back to some of these points. But let me move on then to my next point I want to share with you. And again, it's my favorite point, isn't it? I'm always going to say that, aren't I? So let me share this with you. And this leads in beautifully with what I call the circle of influence. Circle of influence. I want you to realize something here as it links in with what we've been talking about. There are three circles. There's a bigger one, and a smaller one in the middle, and a smaller one within that. I want you to notice on the outside, it says there are things you have no control over. Okay? Things that you have no control over, but they affect you. Okay? Things that affect you, but you can do nothing about it. And I think, you know, what's so amazing to me is that we would have things in life that affect us, but we can't do nothing about it. I want to mention around 4 that I can think of and I think would be a benefit. One of the things we cannot change is death. When someone has died, that's it. We can do nothing about it. It affects us, but we can't do nothing about it. We're all going to die, and we can't do nothing about it. Secondly, we can do nothing about the weather. Whether it rains, sunshine, whatever. Can't do nothing about it. Affects us, but we can't do nothing about it. Nothing what we can't do anything about, but it affects us. We can't control time or stop it. We just have to accept that it's there. We can do nothing about it. And another one, which I think is a real big one that we can do nothing about, is people. You know, it's amazing, but as much as we may not want to accept it, but we have no control over other people. We can't control their attitude, how they feel, how they think, what they do. And that's one of the reasons why we build prisons all around the world, is to put people in the prison that we can't control. So we use a force to, you know, restrain them, as it were. Now, in this, the other circle, are the things that affects us that we can't do nothing about, but we can influence. Influence doesn't guarantee an outcome. And that's why we would teach that the greater your ability to influence people, the more powerful you have become. Some people influence people by manipulation, sidetracking them, you know, to get them to do what they want. But when you are able to influence people for positive sake, you have become a great leader. As a matter of fact, John Maxwell, the guru leader, states leadership is influence. So the greater your ability to influence people to do things is the greater your ability to lead people. If you can't influence, you can't lead. If you can't lead, you can't influence. But bear this in mind, influence doesn't guarantee that you get people to do what you want them to do. But the smallest circle is the one that you have control over. That's the smallest circle. So I would strongly recommend that you accept the things that you cannot change. Just accept them. You know, have your cry if you have to. You moan if you have to. Then get up, wash your face, accept it. You know, it's raining outside. So what? Let's get your umbrella and go with the flow. You know, recently I was leaving my home, And as I opened the front door, it was just raining heavily. And, you know, I could complain, what a bad day, what a miserable day it is. You know what's amazing? In other parts of the world, people are rejoicing and dancing in the rain that they've got rain. And here I am in the UK. If I'm not careful, I'll be cursing the very rain that somebody's blessing somewhere else. So you know what I did? I just looked around, looked for an umbrella, and just went about my merry ways as happy as I was coming down that stairs. You just got to accept it. You know, today it's snowing. It's not bad weather, really, is it? We say it's a bad weather based upon factors that we have chosen. And I'm not saying that, you know, if we have heavy gale and storms and thunder rains and so on, that it's a good thing. No, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that we ought to have to accept it anyway. That's a fact. We could do nothing about it. But if you can do something about it, do something. Never complain about the things that you can do something about, and don't complain about the things that you can't, because your complaining, my complaining doesn't make the situation any better. So I strongly recommend that you accept that. Okay, let me see if there are any questions for me. I'm at stage 2. I know that doing what makes me feel, I'm at stage 2. I know that doing what makes me feel fulfilled. Okay, I think I may understand that, Mars. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you sharing that point. Certainly, what I would say is, first of all, is one of the great thing about what you've said is that you have recognized where you are. And what I would say is now is be careful of the people you're around, and make sure that you are listening to some life-giving words. Are you with me? So I would strongly recommend a few things, and I would love for you to make a note of these few things that I'm going to recommend to you, okay? Number one is, if you haven't already done this, I would strongly recommend that you create a music playlist of at least 5 to 10 of your most favorite music. I'm talking about your favorite, the music that, if you were, for example, to choose, in fact, this is what I want you to do, is to choose the 10 top music in the world that Marcia loves, okay? And I want you to play that to yourself every day. And whenever you really feel pretty low, just play it. I have my playlist here. Let me see if I can. I've got several playlists. I'll see if I could find one. Quick enough music. How do you find this thing quick now? Okay. Okay. It looked like my phone has changed on me. It says add to playlist, but I didn't want to add anything. Let me. Oh, there it is. Okay, so why isn't it coming up? Just when you want something to work, let me start again. Just when you want something to work, let me close all these applications. Just when you want something to work, they just, I can't believe this. Okay, let me go to, could you believe it? This is a screen I'm getting, a wide screen. Cannot believe it tonight. I don't know why nothing is coming up. Okay, let me see if I could search. MIX. Looking for a particular song. Okay, let me go again. Okay, I'm looking for a particular one. I can't find. But let me go to. I really wanted the particular one, but anyway, let me see. I'm still getting a blank screen. I'm gonna have to turn my phone off and see if I can. I'll come back to this. Let me turn it off and come back. I'm just getting a wide screen, so I don't know why. So number one, get a playlist, a music playlist, okay, of your 10 favorite music and play it to yourself daily, okay, or as often as you like during the day. I strongly, strongly recommend that. Secondly, I would like you to choose, if you have not already done this, who is one of your favorite speakers? Is it T.D. Jakes? Is it Joyce Myers? Is it Dr. Miles Monroe? Whoever they are, all their videos now on YouTube. So let's assume you've chosen Joyce Myers, okay? I want you every day for at least 20 minutes to listen to any of Joyce Myers' messages. If it's T.D. Jakes, the same thing. If it's Dr. Miles Monroe, the same thing. If it's Dr. K.C. Price, the same thing, okay? I want you to listen to that person for at least 20 minutes every day. Just put their video on. It's free. You don't have to pay a single penny for them. They've now made them all available free. And definitely, definitely do that. My third point I'm going to give you, and this is my final one. I know we don't have Blockbuster no more and so on, but I would strongly recommend that you, whatever is your comedy, you know, whether you like going to the theater or comedy, but you just got to do things that is fun, whether it's a hobby of some sort, find something that is fun to do, whatever it is, but it must be fun for Marcia. It may not be fun for somebody else, but it's fun for you. Okay, it's fun for you. I think I may have, I don't know if it's working now. Okay, it says playlist at the top here. Oh, there they are. I think there they are. So I normally sometimes, I don't know if I've got the right number. Now, this is a young lady called Annette B, and she sings, it's a gospel song, in fact. And sometimes, and you know, all of a sudden I start to rock. Two becomes one. I'm thinking of my wife. Now, let me stop that. You know, when I was away on holiday, my wife didn't come with me, and I was in this beautiful hotel in Jamaica. I was there for, I think, 2 weeks. I think it was, yeah. And my wife wasn't with me. She's back in the UK and so on and so forth. And when I missed her, you know, and you know, I just played this. Anyway, there's another one there. I don't know what track it is. Was it, man? No. I'm trying to. Okay, that was it. That was my track that I play. And so what else? I got many playlists for different reasons. So I hope those points was, yeah, gospel, that's fine. And in fact, that was a gospel song actually by Annette B. She just changed it around. What's my, yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to read something here, but yeah, perfect. Perfect. Okay, excellent. Right. Let me therefore then move on to our final tip then for tonight, and then we will let you go. And then I have an offer for you guys, and I call this a three-way communication. And you know, one of the interesting thing that I discover, I do a lot of training programs for people all around the world, around the country and different parts of the world. And I often ask them, is communication a two-way process or what? And oftentimes people would say it's a two-way process, but I want to say this to you, communication is a three-way process. The sender, the receiver, and feedback. Most people miss out feedback. And this is where a lot of anger comes in and a lot of misunderstanding, because we have not given feedback. We have sent the information, the other person has received it, or they have sent it to us and we have received it. But there's very little concentration or focus on the feedback stage. The feedback stage. Now listen to this carefully. If there is a sender and a receiver and there is no feedback, then there's no guarantee that what was said is understood. Let me say it again. If feedback is not involved in the process, then there is no guarantee that what was said is what was understood. Are you with me? Now, I was talking to a company, I think it was Southwest Trains. I did some training for them for a number of months. And as I was training them, one of the guys, when I was making this point, said, you know, Errol, you're so right about a point, because one of our drivers lost his job because an information was sent to him. He received it and did not give feedback. It's a law within the train industry that when you receive an information that was sent to you, that you must give feedback. And because he didn't give feedback, there was a misunderstanding, the train was derailed, and he lost his job. Are you following me? So feedback is important. Now, I would ask you this question. What is the education, what is the feedback stage in the education system? Right, that's right. Examinations. Look how much time, effort, and money is spent on examination. It's the feedback stage. The pupils have received what the teachers have sent, and the teachers need to know whether the pupil received it. So it's feedback, examination time. In a company, the feedback stage is through appraisals, plus other things that we may do in the company world. So what happened basically is that as we appraise people, once or twice a year, we get a clarification of what's going on. Now, if you're talking to somebody, whether you're the receiver or the sender, it is your responsibility to give or to ask for feedback. So normally when I'm speaking to somebody and I give them an instruction, normally they may not ask for any feedback. I would then say, could you just let me know, tell me in your own words what you've understood. I'm asking for feedback. That feedback will therefore then let me say something like, oh no, that's not what I meant, or perfect, you understand me very well. So in order for the receiver and the sender to be accurate, there must be feedback. We spend billions and billions of pounds each year around the world on feedback in our education and in our commercial system and even in the public sector. So whenever you're communicating with someone, whether you're the sender or whether or not you're the receiver, it's vitally important that you either give feedback or request it. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if there's any questions before we go. These were my 6 tips for this week, added to my 6 last week. And I hope those tips are important to you and that you'll be able to do something with them. I'm just checking work appraisals. That's right. Exams, as you rightfully said. Excellent. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments from anyone in the chat room. Please let us know if you have any question. And just one last slide I want to show you. It's interesting. Last week, Clinton asked me a very powerful question and something I was working on. And basically, what I'm doing right now, we have set up within the organization of Scholar a website at scholaruk.co.uk, and we have set up a membership website for anybody who wishes to join our membership. And we are actually running one particular module at the moment which is overcoming chronic stress, depression, and anger forever. And listen to this carefully. It's a first come, first serve. We will leave this open for around a week or two, where a person signs up for 12 months for that particular program, and they have lots of offer, and the offers are at the website. So you may, if you're interested, go take a look at the website, scholar.co.uk, scholaruk.co.uk. Or you can get to the same website by typing in errolwilliams.tv. errolwilliams.tv will take you to the same website. And we have a offer for the first 10 people, and then the price goes up. The price will go up. For the next 10 people after that will be £75, and after that will be around £125. So if you're interested in signing up for that program, then you can do so tonight. Just go there, and we have a webinar on the 17th of December, and that is a paid webinar, and that £35 include that 2-hour webinar on overcoming chronic stress, depression, and anger forever. Say goodbye to it. And so we were sharing lots of other things. We'll be giving away one of my books free, and lots of other free stuff. So have a look at that website, go to it and have a look, and so on. Now, just want to do one last thing here. Two last thing. I'm not so sure why. That's coming. I'm just singing to myself. Yeah, just want to ask you, really, your favor, really, is to help us to promote these programs whenever they come out. Help us to promote it. And if you click on that link, actually, that link will take you to the Scholar website as well. So you can actually click on that link, and it will take you to the website, and you will see exactly what we're doing there, the benefits, the offer. We're still in the process of developing the website, but the majority of the stuff is there for you to see in terms of what a person will get for £35. Now, if you know anyone who could benefit from £35 one-off payment for a year, 12 months, they will get only access to everything that we do in terms of overcoming stress, depression, and anger forever. So that will be there for a year. Well, I want to say thank you very, 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 very much for coming into the broadcast tonight. Thank you so much for coming. I will be back here next week Thursday, 10 o'clock. So back here next week Thursday at 10 o'clock. You know, always send the link to other people, and the recording of this particular broadcast will come to you automatically by email within the next 2 hours. So you can pick that up later tomorrow if you want. Thank you for coming. I normally will stay until 12 o'clock if there are any questions or any comments. Thank you very much for coming, all of you. Appreciate you guys greatly. But if there are no questions for me tonight, then I'm going to say goodbye. So let me just quickly then run through these slides that we talked about tonight. Okay, quickly. First of all, tip number 1 was mastering your anger, being quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Powerful stuff. I mean, I can't find any better information anywhere. Okay, the second thing was the habits of champions. Okay, I mean this particular habit is so powerful. I think you could write a book just on this particular point, where Stephen Covey wrote a book in 7 points and became a millionaire over it. And it's a very powerful book. I recommend you read it. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Okay. My next thought to you, thought number 3, was be careful what you say to yourself. And that's the focus I want to really highlight strongly. Be careful what you say to yourself, because remember what I said, you could be your worst enemy. Now, I was my worst enemy, you know, many years back, and it wasn't anybody else. I was my worst enemy. And hence the reason why I ended up in so much great depression. My thought life was not right. The things I said was not good. And indeed, the things I did all contributed to my depressive chronic state that I got into. And I want to help people get out. I want to help people soar like an eagle, like, you know, I'm able to do today. So I really, really recommend that you be careful of what you say to yourself and so on. The change curve, I think this is, you know, a powerful point. You know, we all go through it, but know where you're at. And as I shared those 3 thoughts with you, Marcia, and I want to say them again. You know, if you have already got a playlist, whenever you feel really down, play, you know, your favorite music. Trust me, you know, when I was away, I just kept playing that music over and over. And it just drew me even closer to my wife. And that's just, you know, was a powerful tune. And I had other music I was listening to that lifts your spirit and lift you to a really, really powerful position. And I share with you, spend at least 20 minutes every day listening to, I think you may have given me a name, I can't remember if it was a name, TD Jakes. Yeah, every day. I mean, if you listen to TD Jakes every day and you're still depressed, I have to say something, you know, come back to me, because I would want to know. And finally, as I said, you've got to put yourself into positions where you can laugh more, you know, go out, you know, change your environment, get, you know, do a hobby, think something that you love. I don't know what you love to do, but just get into something that could make you laugh. Put on some funny comedy and watch those, you know, some funny, hilarious ones. You know, who are the most funniest people today? I don't know. There are some funny people around. There used to be some funnier people around a long time ago, but I would strongly recommend that for you. Okay. I then talked about the circle of influence, and the point here really is this: there are many things you can't change. Just accept it. Okay. But the things that you can change, don't complain. Just change them. Okay. And the day I discovered that I can't change people was the day I got free. Let me say this again. The day I discovered that I could not change people and I had no control over them was the day I was free. So I hope that helps. And I tell you, there must be feedback. It's your responsibility, whether you're the sender or the receiver, to make sure you either give feedback or you ask for it. And finally, on my final slide, the first 10 people, then the price goes up. This is the way we're working. First come with just an offer that we're giving to people. And I thought I'd bring this offer here before I bring the offer to others. If you're interested, then you can take that or give it to somebody else if you know somebody that could benefit. Just give them, you know, click on the link, either errolwilliams.tv or scholaruk.co.uk. And that would be great. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Really do appreciate you guys coming. Love you guys lots, and see you soon, maybe next week, when I share again 6 more powerful tips. Take care of yourself and your family. Until next time, bye for now.